Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to this Tuesday, the 17th of September. Hope your week's off to a great start. Yesterday was a little bit of a mixed bag. We'll talk about that and more when Dave joins us here in just a few seconds. Hey, before we do that, though, let's not forget that in this world we live in, there are so many things that are out of our control. However, you can take control of your investment portfolio by knowing the amount of risk you have in that portfolio. And that's why I developed the Core Retirement Design to help you design the retirement you always dreamed of. Give us a call at 863 382 0037 to schedule your core retirement analysis. Hey, with that, we've got Dave coming up next.
19 before 9. They're hauling out the breakfast buffet, all of the tea and crumpets for all the high rollers at the Federal Reserve, and the meeting that everybody's been waiting for with bated breath starts today. We won't know what they did until tomorrow, but that's making the financial world kind of interesting to watch. Time to check in and see how your money is doing this morning. On the telephone, we have Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. How are you, Phillip?
Hey, I'm doing well today, Dave. It is mixed bag yesterday, but got a lot of green ink this morning, including oil, which I'm not real happy about. But we'll talk about that more in just a little bit.
I got you. Setting the table, yeah, it was a good day yesterday on balance, especially if you were holding blue chips. Dow was up 228 points yesterday, closed at 41,622.08. And if that doesn't sound like a familiar number, it shouldn't, because it's a new all-time record close for the Dow. Standard & Poor's is up there in nosebleed territory, gained $7 up to 56.33, and evidently they weren't overly impressed with Apple's new iPhone, because that and a couple of other tech stocks dragged the NASDAQ down by 92 points. But that sounds more like anything like unrequited excitement on Apple. It happens every daggone year. They put up a phone that looks just like everything else they've made, and everybody goes crazy for one day and then starts selling like chiclets for a couple of days after they find out it's not as cute as they thought it'd be.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that a couple of articles yesterday talked about how the demand for the 16 just wasn't up to what analysts or Apple had expected.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I'm honestly surprised. This first time that Apple hasn't taken a new feature that they've really touted and not debuted it with the phone. I think the thing that really is hurting it is the fact that, that highly touted Apple Intelligence, that's not going to get to the iPhone 16s until next month sometime. So everybody's saying, why in the heck do I need a new phone now? My 13 works just fine. I mean, if you're not ready to upgrade, the new feature that isn't even there isn't going to excite you that much. I guess I'm not surprised by a slow start.
Well, probably not. I mean, there's obviously some other things that they put out there that I found interesting. Um, the new earbuds, I thought those were kind of interesting, kind of playing with the health field as far as hearing aids. I thought that was kind of a neat slant.
That was kind of an interesting swap. As expensive as hearing aids can get, the idea of, oh, goody, my earbuds can now be a hearing aid. I bought an off-brand knockoff set of earbuds that looked exactly like Apple EarPods, and dang things kept falling out of my ears, so I finally said, I'm not going to blow $500 on something I'm likely to drop. They say the new ones stick in your ear a lot better, too, which still doesn't make me want to spend $500, but at the very least, they answered my consumer objection. Anyway, that was why the NASDAQ went down, and today and tomorrow we're kind of sitting there saying pins and needles on our seat cushions, because the Fed's going to decide whether to do a half-point or a quarter-point rate cut, and indications are from retail sales that we got at 8:30 this morning, like overall we may not need more than a quarter point, but if you include autos, we might be able to use a half point. That looks because they expected retail sales to dip by a little bit. Overall, we actually gained 0.1%. But once you factor cars out of it, rather, we didn't gain half as much as they expected us to gain. That's kind of intriguing. Mixed bag. I'm not sure how to interpret it.
Well, yeah, I mean, one way to interpret it is what the futures did, and they didn't really do anything. They were not impressed one way or the other, and so they just kind of bumped up, bumped back down. They're really where they were probably about 10 minutes ago.
In other words, the futures reaction was, close enough for government work, right?
That seems to be the attitude.
And that really, it's not an unexpected attitude when you've got all the information already in the hopper for the Fed governors, and what they do is probably already pretty well carved in stone anyway for tomorrow afternoon at 2. This is mostly today, I would imagine, just tea leaf reading as to which direction we're going to end up going as far as that interest rate cut.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that's kind of, I would expect it kind of to just muddle along today. Because obviously the numbers that came out today weren't really impressive one way or the other, and so I'm the Fed's going to be the deal tomorrow when they announce interest rates. That's going to be really what I think the markets are waiting for.
Absolutely. I do consider the overall retail sales figure generally good news. We were talking about it yesterday. For the last, 6 months, we've been going growth and then a little bit of shrinkage. Growth, a little shrinkage. Last month was a surprisingly high growth figure. We grew by a full 1%. Everybody, you and me included, were expecting a little bit of shrinkage, and we actually stayed on the positive, which does indicate to me at the very least that the retail marketplace may not be setting the world on fire. And my local retail customers will pretty much back that point up. But there's no indication that we're heading into a deep, dark recession either.
No, there's not. You're right. There's nothing really that indicates that as well. So, like I said, we're just kind of in this, I don't know, this period where there's not enough data one way or the other, I don't think. And what would really be a surprise if they did nothing, Dave?
That would probably be a 600-point drop in the Dow within 10 minutes of the announcement. And you and I have been talking about it. A quarter point is the sweet spot that'll make everybody happy. But a half a point, like you said yesterday, that indicates the Fed sees a lot more dark clouds on the horizon than we're seeing. And I was also throwing out the fact that it would throw the financial markets into a tizzy, too, because the substantial change on interest rates is going to throw all the banks' holdings off balance as well. It's kind of the opposite effect of what we had while they were raising them rapidly. A half a point is upsetting. A quarter point is kind of a nice sweet spot, and I'd expect a pretty big rise tomorrow afternoon at 2 if that happens.
I would think so. And if they do nothing, then that's going to be an indication that inflation is definitely not under control, and the markets won't like that one bit.
Absolutely, and conventional wisdom is swinging more and more to the percentage that the Fed might be a little bit late on the button push again this time, and that doesn't surprise anybody that's a Fed watcher. I've said again and again, the world banking community does not consider our Federal Reserve particularly adept at making changes in the right timing and with the right quantity. It just has not been one of their hallmarks, and the defense you can offer is the fact that we've got such a darn big economy. It's almost impossible to fine-tune like you can a nation the size of one of our states. So there's a reason, but nevertheless, we've never been particularly good at it, and that's the fear that Wall Street is starting to express. Are they late starting to ease off? So if they did nothing, that 600-point drop might be a 900-point drop in the Dow just out of the fear-mongering index.
That's right. And so tomorrow's just going to be tomorrow afternoon's going to be a big afternoon for sure.
Yeah, I expect so. Other tidbits floating around this morning. Microsoft is going to have more AI on your Microsoft Office product. They're going to start sticking more Copilot tech into Excel, Outlook, Teams, PowerPoint. Goody, the next time I do a PowerPoint for my Rotary show, I'm going to have an artificial intelligence bot telling me my pages look ugly. Does that do anything for you?
Maybe they can help you make it look nice, Dave.
Not a prayer. Any other tidbits you're picking up this morning while we're waiting on the Fed?
Not really earnings, but Microsoft did come out and announce that they've increased their quarterly dividend by 10.7% to 83 cents a share. That'll be for the dividend payable in December, as well as they approved a new $60 billion share buyback program. So that's got them trading up almost 2% this morning.
Assuming later on this morning somebody at Microsoft doesn't say, oops, that was our AI bot that made that announcement, right?
There you go. That's right.
That's about it. Rolling it into a ball this morning. Yesterday was a good day on the blue chips. If you held a lot of tech, you were probably a little bit disappointed. like we were talking about, that's probably a temporary unrequited glee syndrome more than anything else. Looking at things this morning, how are our futures shaping up 45 minutes early?
Have we got green ink this morning, Dave? The Dow is up 0.3%. That's $125. S&P 500 is up almost 0.4. And then the NASDAQ 100 is up 117. That's about 0.6%. So good shape there. Silver's flat right now. Gold's down 1/4 point. And crude oil is down from where I looked at it earlier this morning. It's down 0.1%, but it was up over 70 a little while this morning, but it's back down to $68.94, Dave. You got to like that.
Okay, I'll take that happily. I saw 70 on my delayed quotes and was profoundly unhappy there. Overseas markets, Asian Rim, almost everybody was up except mainland China. They are just going through a real churn at the moment. They were down by between 0.5% and 1% on the mainland markets at 6 a.m. Most of the rest of the Asian Rim was up this morning. Europe is looking at us and saying, okay, Dow is at a record. We're trading up in general, not too bad. European community up between 0.5% and 0.75% halfway through their day over on that side of the pond. Getting a retirement plan together so that I know I'll be able to retire, that takes more than my feeble eyes can give me. How do I find you to get that plan together for me, Phillip?
David, give us a call at 863-382-0037 for our core retirement design. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
And back here again tomorrow morning to try to read the tea leaves on the Federal Reserve. Bring your crystal ball along with you, would you?
And we'll see what we can find.
Thank you much. I'll see you tomorrow. It's 105.7 Light FMs and Statler Financial Services. Phillip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope your week's going well. Join us again tomorrow. Thanks, man. Take care. Bye.